Here's how I built a voice AI agent for a SaaS talent acquisition team that completely automates reference checks. Their 10 recruiters no longer make a single reference check call. The agent handles everything. In this video, I'll show you 3 things: a live demo in action, conducting a real reference check, and generating a Google Docs report instantly, ready to share with the hiring manager or the recruiter. 2, a walkthrough of the prompts, software, and configuration that make the system sound natural and human. And 3, a cost breakdown so you can see exactly why and if this is a smart move in 2025. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Mike, and I help businesses worldwide implement advanced AI phone systems that save time, cut costs, and boost efficiency. If you'd like to explore how we can do the same for you, use the link below to book a free AI consultation. I'm limiting it to just 3 spots per video. Now let's get into the live demo. Live demo. So if you have not done so, make sure you subscribe to my channel. It really helps with the algorithms. Please like and subscribe to these videos as well, because I'm trying to increase my subscribers. So we're going to jump into the ref check form, which I created. I will leave a link to this form in either the description or the resources section, and I won't go through this form in detail because there are clear instructions written on the form itself. But essentially what we want to do is enter the information for the candidate: phone number, email, company name, relationship, and date. And once we do that, I'm going to hit the submit button, and then I'm going to get a call from my agent. The agent is going to conduct a reference check with me, the reference, and then that is going to get transformed into a very good looking report that the client or recruiter can use to help them save time and close business. So without further ado, let's hit the submit button and get right into the demo.
Hello, I'm an AI voice agent. The purpose of my call is because John Smith is considering a job with our client. They have listed you as a reference. I understand you were their manager at John AI. I'd like to ask 5 quick questions to better understand their suitability for the role. Is now a good time?
Yes.
Thank you. First, could you describe areas where John excelled?
John was a great sales manager. He always achieved his targets.
Thank you. What are the key things that motivate John?
John was motivated by money and team success.
Got it. What are some areas where John could improve?
John was hyper-focused. He could relax a little bit and work less hours.
Thanks. Would you rehire John? Why or why not?
Yeah, absolutely. He hit his targets and was a great team player. Are we finished?
That's all I need. Thank you for your answers. I'm sure John will appreciate your time. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
You're welcome. Have a great day. Goodbye.
All right, so we can go into the N8N second workflow, which I've created, and click execute workflow, and we can see this actually in action, where this is the second workflow. I'll get into the details of this later, but so that's the quick demo. And then if we go into the report section, we can see the John Smith report has been created in Google Docs. We can read clearly here, this is a report for John Smith. John Smith was an outstanding sales manager at John AI, consistently surpassing his sales targets. He demonstrated exceptional team building skills and was driven by both financial incentives and overall team success. Notice this is not what I said in the call, but the AI is extrapolating the basic and concise information that I gave, and it's creating a more robust and better report for the client or for the recruiter. Key strengths: John consistently achieved his sales goals, targets. 2, he was a strong team player. 3, John was highly motivated by monetary rewards and team accomplishments. Again, my answer was 1 line, and the AI has extrapolated that information via voice and created this detailed and very robust report. Areas to develop: John could benefit from relaxing more. He might consider working fewer hours. And 3, this is the 5th question: rehire? Yes, absolutely. So that's all the information, and that's the demo. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, if you're interested in having this Ref Checker demo built for your business, for your recruitment agency or your TA team, simply click on this link, which is my Calendly. Go into the Calendly, click a time that is suitable for you, click next, enter name, email, and the reason you want to speak with me. This is a free AI consultation, and that will send you a Google Meet, and we can meet up and I can show you how I built this, or show you and your company how to build it yourself. All right, let's move into part 3, where I actually go through a walkthrough and a detailed walkthrough of how I built this. Okay, this is part 2 where I show you a walkthrough of my agent. So we're going to start in Retail AI is a front-end SaaS orchestration platform for voice. It's really cool. I like it a lot. I use it quite frequently for my demos. If you don't have an account, just go on to retailai.com, click join. You go on to retailai.com, click join, and that will take you to the sign up page. But for those of you who don't know Retail AI, if we look at the features, you get call transfer, book appointments, batch calls, verified phone numbers. You can actually add phone numbers through Retail AI, which is very cool. They have a knowledge base. Apparently it's not as good as VAPI, but it's not bad. And then they have a documentation section, some solution sections for specific industries. If you're industry specific, Retail AI is pretty cool. Anyway, this is not a video to advertise Retail AI. This is just the orchestration platform that I'm using for the voice. So in Retail AI, I've created an agent called RefChecker1. And the first thing that you probably want to do is create a prompt. And so my prompt starts at the top here. It says, you are Jenny, a concise professional AI reference check agent. Your role is to politely call listed references, ask structured questions, and capture answers. Your tone should be brief, human sounding, and respectful. So this is the prompt, and in the prompt we give the agents instructions in regard to what we want to do and how we want that agent to do it. The next section is context and dynamic variables. This is something that we do, so we break up the sections of the prompt to give the agent, again, clear instructions, but also instructions that are in context. Dynamic values may be provided. A dynamic value is the information that I provided in the form that we looked at in the demo, which is, excuse me, here. And so you can see down here there's fields via the form will be the dynamic data that is brought into the agent. And so you can see here dynamic data provided first name, last name, relationship, and company. So the name is the candidate name, the relationship is the relationship between the candidate and the reference, and the company is the current or previous company that the candidate used to work at. Apologies if this is a little bit confusing. If you're a recruiter, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you're TA, you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, just read the instructions in the form. It's pretty clear. If any variable is missing, just use generic phrasing. Okay, the next section is call opening and consent. Always introduce yourself as an AI voice agent. I think this is important. I put this in because if a reference is getting a call from an AI agent, I want that reference, that person to know immediately that it is an AI. I don't want them to think they're we don't want them to think that they are being like tricked or manipulated or anything like this. I just put it up front. I'm an AI voice and I'm doing a reference call. Also, depending on what country you're in, I think some references might not have ever interacted with a voice AI before. So I think it's important to give the AI human voice, but also give the AI context so that that AI agent can explain to the reference what's going on, so it's very clear. Now, in the variable section, I've given an example. Hello, I'm an AI voice agent. The purpose of my call is because first name, last name is considered in a job with our client. They've listed you as a reference. I understand you were their relationship at company. So these are dynamic variables that the person that you're going to be filling out in the form, which is, again, this form here. And they go into these dynamic variables here. I'd like to ask 5 quick questions to better understand their suitability for the role. So it's very clear the reference now knows who the reference is for and the relationship and what this is all about. And then we go into the questions. The first one is, well, actually the agent then asks, is now a good time? And then the call flow is, strengths, motivators, weaknesses, and rehire, and then the wrap up. And then this section here is some JSON that we are going to add, and this is going to be put into what we call a function. And the nice thing about Retail AI is that it has tool function capability where you can access external services by inputting dynamic data. So in this situation, we've set up specifically what we call a custom function, and we've called this function submit_reference check. And then the description of the function here, you can just screenshot this stuff if you're interested in building this yourself. Also, on a side note, I'm going to do another video, probably maybe 2 videos later, where I do a complete rebuild of this agent from scratch. So if you're a builder or a developer and you want to know how this was actually built step by step, I'm going to do that in a couple of videos from now. Description: used to submit structured reference check answers at the end of the call. So that's the instructions for the agent. And then this is an API endpoint post. This webhook will come from the second workflow. So you can see here, this is a webhook, and the URL will come from this webhook, which is the second workflow that we've built for this agent. So this API endpoint will have specifically this URL. Make sure it's the production URL. So the endpoint is coming from this webhook, which is here. Make sure it's the production URL. That's important. And that will go into the agent function, which is a custom function right here in the API endpoint post section. This section of the function you can leave default as is, and then in the parameter section of the function at the bottom, we want to add this JSON. And again, you can screenshot, but this is the JSON payload that's going to be sent to the second N8N workflow, will be the information that the reference provided regarding the 5 questions, strengths, weaknesses, and so on and so forth. So that is getting sent via a function in retail to the second N8N workflow. So that's how that works. Now, in regard to the actual LLM I'm using GPT 4.1. You can use whichever LLM you choose. You can see the pricing up here. GPT-5 is 0.04, 4.1. Actually, let's switch to, I'm going to actually switch to GPT-5 because it's actually cheaper than the GPT 4.1. So why not? The LLM, and then the voice, I use Simo. I like her voice. It's great. This is a multilingual type orchestration where you can click multilingual, and you can actually have this agent speak in various languages. We're using English, US English for the specific agent. And then down at the bottom of the prompt, just continuing on and finishing off on the prompts. Do not print JSON in the conversation. This is an instruction for the agent, and these are all instructions for the agent which you can read. I won't go into the details. You can screenshot this if you like. All right, next we're going to go into our workflow, our backend workflow, which is N8N. So we use N8N for our backend workflow. What is N8N? It's basically an automation tool that you can use to automate certain processes, and you'll see what we're automating. But for example, we can take the dynamic data that we collected in the agent, send it to N8N, have an LLM manage and organize that data, and then send that data to a Google Doc report for the actual report creation. So that can all be done automatically using N8N, and you can see an example of a workflow here. It's visual building. This is a low-code tool. It's really cool. Again, this is not an advertisement for N8N, but I just want to explain what it is and how we are specifically using it. I like N8N because it's visual, it's fast, it's low cost. You can do self-hosting, which is really low cost, virtually free, or you can use their cloud version. I'm using the cloud version in this video, in this demo, because honestly they have AI functionality baked into the cloud version. You can ask an assistant if something's going wrong, and during the process of building this agent, a lot went wrong. It was not perfect from the start at all. So it's great to use AI, and I actually combine that with ChatGPT, and then you can really figure out, it's basically building these agents using Retail, Vappy, or N8N, or Make, or whichever low-code tools you're using. It's going to be a collection of error handling and a collection of testing, a collection of sequential error encountering, troubleshooting, and testing. That's all it is. It's you run into problems, use the AI to fix the problems, and you move forward. So the first thing that in this first workflow, we've built a webhook, which is a production URL webhook that basically, this webhook here is the URL for this is in the actually ref check a URL, you can, in tally.so, you can add in a webhook, which comes from here. So this web production URL gets put into the tally.so section of the integrations, and that will allow this information to get sent into this first workflow. And basically, so this is the data that's coming in through the web form, okay? And then the second, we actually went through this in the previous video, so I'm going to go quickly through these modules. I actually want to focus more on the second workflow because I've added some functionality here, but this is a set mapping fields node where I've basically managed all the data and made the data a little bit more organized. And then the third module is an HTTP post where we actually access the Retail AI API, and we are going to send the information that comes from the form going into N8N back into Retail AI. So Retail AI will then take this dynamic data and through the HTTP post and using the backend Retail AI, or excuse me, the backend Retail API, which is this URL here, it will send the data from the form into N8N and then back into Retail, so Retail can access that data as dynamic data. Okay, and then finally the last node is just a respond to webhook node so that that information gets sent back to Retail AI, and then you can move on with the prompt, the process, and the flow. Now, I've also built a second workflow in N8N, which is connected to the same agent. This workflow is a little bit more robust. Again, I'm going to go through a full build in a couple of videos from now, so you know, if you're interested in how to build this from scratch, stay with me, subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate your patronage and your commenting. If you like the video, comment on the video. It really helps because the algorithms pick that up. And I just want to deliver value to you as a builder or an agency owner. And if you own a business and you're too busy to build this yourself, I want to help you build this. So, you know, whatever you want to do with this, please do it. I just want to offer you extreme value. And I think the best way that I can do that is if you like the video. That's really all you have to do. And if you're interested in building something like this for your agent, again, sign up to my Calendly and let's book a meeting and let's connect. Okay, so now we're in the second workflow. We set up a webhook. And always make sure you're in the production URL. This webhook is from the function in Retail AI right here that we looked at earlier, which is the API endpoint post. You can see it's ref-output. So that actually gets originated here in the webhook for N8N, because what's happening is we are asking Retail via the function to send the information from the reference call to this webhook so we can do stuff with it. So that's the first node. The second node in this workflow is actually a code node. And so if you want to screenshot this, I'll go through it very slowly, but this is the JavaScript code that you put into the JavaScript section of this code node. Okay, so this will be like the third screenshot, and then this will be the fourth screenshot and the fifth screenshot, and yeah, this is the bottom. If you want, DM me and I will send you this code. Also, I'm going to do a full walkthrough and I'll include this code in the resources section in that walkthrough. Now, this is a custom code node. So you set it up, mode, run once for all items, language JavaScript, and then you include all this JavaScript into the code section. And if we go back into the workflow, the third node is a Google Sheet node. So what you want to do is, first of all, add Google Sheet, and then you can authorize your Google account in N8N here. You click on this section and you click sign into Google, and that will authorize N8N to access your Google account so that you can basically automate your Google Sheets using N8N. The resources sheet within document, so we've connected our account, the resources sheet within document. Operation is append row, document from list, so we have a ref checker list, which is here. So this is essentially this is our database, and it's a Google Sheet, And so we are accessing this specific Google Sheet in N8N, and then we're using Sheet 1. And then after that, we're setting mapping column mode, map each column manually. And then the values that we send to the Google Sheets are as follows: timestamp, Google call ID, first name, last name, relationship, company, excelled, motivators, improvements, rehire, the agent ID, agent name, user number, and agent number. So that will all show up in this Google Sheet. So essentially what's happening now is the agent is, through the form, is calling the reference, the information from the reference, and then the agent is sending that information back into N8N, and then through automation we are sending that information to a Google Sheets. So now we have that information essentially in our database, which is really cool, and now we can do stuff with that information. And so what I want to do with that information, specifically with this agent, is create a report. Now this report will be sent either to the client or to the recruiter for a review. The next thing we need to do is add a create document node. This is Google Docs. I'm using Google Docs for this agent. And so you authorize Google Docs. This one's a little bit more complex actually. I had to go into Google Workspace, Google Cloud to actually set this up, and I might do a video on that later on. It's a bit beyond the scope of this video, but you need to add your auth redirect URL, your client ID, and then your client secret, which you get from Google Workspace, Google Cloud, and then you authorize your account. And this is also kind of using Google Drive. Google Drive and Google Docs are connected. And then so the next section is resource, which is document, operation, which is create, so we're creating a document, and then the drive name or ID is my drive. That's actually a redundant section. The folder name or ID is refchecker2, and that is actually this folder here in Google Drive. So now we're in Google Drive, and then we add this is to create the title of the document itself, and then we've added some JSON with dynamic data in this section. You can screenshot it if you like, and then you can see the outputs here that we've already got, the name of the title of the report, which will show up here. You can see the titles of the reports here. All right, great. Now the next node is where the magic happens. This is the magic sauce. So this is an LLM. Specifically, we are using OpenAI. So we're going to add an OpenAI LLM, and we are going to connect that. Again, you connect your OpenAI account into N8N and you authorize it. You need an API key, which you get in, again, beyond the scope of this video. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section. Happy to answer. You add this information, authorize, and then OpenAI is added to your N8N. The next section down is resource, which is text, because this is all going to be in text. Operation, message a model. Okay, don't worry specifically what that's about. Just click message a model from list. I'm using GPT-4o specifically. That's the LLM we're going to be using in this automation. And then we need what's called a prompt. So we've created a prompt here, and this prompt says you are a professional ref check report writer. Okay, so this is separate from the prompt that we have in the retail agent. This is a separate prompt within N8N where we're telling the agent, or the LLM, let's say the AI, to create a report. Write concise, client-ready prose using only the provided fields. Do not invent facts. Use clean, plain text. No markdown. Use short sections. Target 150 to 250 words. Make it easy to scan. Output must be plain text only, and so on and so forth. So that's the prompt, and then we also need to set role to user, and then we actually have to add all of this JSON, which looks like this. So this will be the format of the report itself, and then we're adding all of this dynamic data down here, including the name. This is all the information that's coming in through the form, including some other stuff like the agent ID and the agent name. And so that all gets set up in this section, and that's it for the LLM. And then we connect the LLM with another Google Docs node, which is an update a document node. And so this is actually where we're going to update the document that we've already created with the title. And again, you connect your Google account. Resources document. Operation is update, so we're updating a report which will be blank. And we're going to add this JSON here, which looks like this, which will be the information that we grabbed from the LLM. We're going to add that as this basically JSON ID. And then down here, object text, insert body AI index. You need to put this text because then this is the dynamic data that's going to get put into the report via the LLM. So we've updated the document in that, and then finally we just respond to the webhook. That's just a finisher node. So that's a quick run through the second workflow of this ref checker agent. Now if we go into Drive and then we click on the report, we can see the report that was created from the call that we did. So John Smith, relationship manager, company John AI, so that's all at the top. Executive summary: John Smith was an outstanding sales manager at John AI, consistently surpassing his sales targets. He demonstrated exceptional team building skills and was driven by both financial incentives and overall team success. So again, my answer to the voice agent, if you remember, was just a one line, like he was a good sales manager, he hit his targets. And so the LLM in N8N here, this LLM, message and model, has taken this information, extrapolated a one-liner and made it a little bit more robust. So when the client reads this, they'll be like, okay, John seems like a good sales manager, that's good. And then next, key strengths: John consistently achieved his sales targets. He was a strong team player. Number 3, John was highly motivated by monetary rewards and team accomplishments. Again, my line on the voice agent was one line, but this is all factual information. Now the client can look at this and say, okay, John has 3 great strengths here, looking good, and then areas to develop: John could benefit from relaxing more. He might consider working fewer hours. Now, if I was a hiring manager, I'd be like, that's not a problem. I like this. And then finally, would you rehire him? Yes, absolutely. I think we could probably extrapolate a little bit more on that, why the person would rehire him. But anyway, if I was a hiring manager looking for a sales manager and I read this report, I'd be like, wow, John seems great. I want to interview. I've already interviewed him. I definitely want to hire him. Great. So I hope that was helpful. This video, as usual, went a little longer than I expected. I'll be back in another video, probably to go through this agent in a little bit more detail. I'll do some specific builds, and then at the end of this series, this ref checker series, I'm going to build the agent again from scratch. Let me know what questions you have in the comments section on that build. Also, again, if you're interested in working with me, click on the calendly.com Dynaflow consultation meeting link. Go here, put in your name, put in your email, put in what you want to do basically, and then you'll get a Google map and we can meet up. And it's a free AI consultation call, so I can go through your business, figure out what the bottlenecks are, figure out, what the problems are that you're trying to solve, and then we can go through and solve that. That's it. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in.